Hi everyone, welcome along to Through the Banner on thewest.com.au. He's COD, I'm Skeet. We're rolling through the teams for this weekend, specifically starting with tomorrow night's big game at Optus Stadium between the Dockers and Geelong. But let's get down to the news of the day. And COVID, we thought it had taken a deep breath, particularly in the West, but it's re-emerged and the AFL's caught in the middle of it.
It's been a pretty dramatic day when WA closed the borders to Victoria, changing the restrictions on things, which meant that Geelong would then have to isolate and be tested. Gillon McLaughlin was holding a press conference in Melbourne and the journos had to tell him that our border had closed. And then Geelong landed at 2:50pm over here, and at 3 o'clock Chris Dawson spoke to the police commissioner. So it was all happening at a rapid pace. Fortunately, what we do know is Geelong will be tested and have to isolate before the game. They will be allowed to play and they will be allowed to have a crowd, and Fremantle won't have to quarantine after the game at this stage, but will have to be tested. So from a best case, worst case scenario, I reckon we've hit best case, haven't we?
We have indeed. It is a movable feast though, and we'll keep our eye on it each hour. There could be a change pending on what testing takes place and the results of that. We've got some results when it comes to the teams for tomorrow night. Round 18 action, a Thursday night game. The Dockers have been waiting for prime time for so long. They get their chance, and they made one change, particularly one in.
Yes, Ethan Hughes back for the first time since round 7 when he injured his shoulder, so good to see him back in the team. Will add to that defence. Brandon Walker's been managed, obviously a first-year player. He's played pretty well so far, but obviously his body needing a bit of a rest. And Connor Blakely, as the sub, has gone out of that team as well. And then you look at Geelong, and there's some pretty big names who are coming into this team. Joel Selwood, the captain, you can't get any bigger than that for the Cats. Luke Dalhouse is also back, but they've lost a couple of big names as well. Lockie Henderson, Asian player, 5-day break, has been managed out of the back line. Gary Rowan, as one of their forwards, is out. I mean, Jeremy Cameron's been out as well now with his injury. So Robertson with some goalkeeping power, and Max Holmes is also out of that team. So gives Fremantle a bit of a chance with some of those names out.
And a special night for the Fremantle Football Club. It is their Starlight Purple Haze Game, and specifically a tribute to little Milli Lucas, the Secret Harbour girl who so sadly lost her life after an aggressive brain tumour earlier this year. She became somewhat of a friend of the Fremantle Dockers. Her beaming smile, Nat Fyfe took her under his wing, and the jumpers they'll be wearing tomorrow night have been designed by Millie's siblings, Tess and Joel had a run with the Fremantle Dockers yesterday. So a really sad story, but hopefully for the family, some comfort.
Yeah, it was an amazing day when Millie was out there on the field with Nat before the game and with the Dockers. He had the hug that he gave her before the game. And in the rooms afterwards, when all the cameras were gone and no one could see what was going on, Nat Fyfe was still with Millie, talking to her and spending time with the family. So it had a real impact on the Dockers, and I think that she had a real impact on the whole state, let's face it. And this will be a wonderful occasion to celebrate her.
Absolutely. It puts football totally into perspective. Now, a big occasion coming up on the weekend in Adelaide for Nic Naitanui, his 200th game, the reigning John Worsfold medalist, a two-time All-Australian. Couple of knee injuries, shoulder injuries. We were at the press conference today, COD. He spoke really well.
Yeah, he's an amazing bloke, isn't he? He just accepts the fact that he was drafted 1 year before Dustin Martin, and Dustin Martin hit 200 games 3 years ago. So it just shows how many injuries he's actually had and what he's had to go through. Miss a premiership, his mum passed away during all of that as well. And he's just an upbeat, happy bloke who just keeps playing footy hard and keeps playing really well. So you'd expect West Coast to lift, despite their form. They've got to lift for this occasion, surely, don't you think?
You'd think so. They've lost 3 in a row, but he's very bullish. That's Nic Nat about their premiership prospects. You'd have to be, I guess, if you wear the blue and gold at this stage. But we looked at training today. You and I were both there, COD. They've got a couple of injury concerns heading into that Crows match.
Yeah, so Elliot Yeo rolled his ankle during the last quarter against North Melbourne and was only on stationary skills. Luke Shuey didn't get out on the track at all. Neither did Josh Kennedy. They've obviously both had some injury worries in the past. Tom Barras walked around looking like he'd been hit by a truck. He was as sore could be. And Tim Kelly didn't look all that comfortable with a knee at different points of the session either. So they've got some blokes who, bearing in mind it's only a couple of days out from their previous games, so you'd expect them to be sore, and they've got 6 days between matches. But there's a few guys who are still walking around going, we know we've played a game of footy.
As we wrap it up, of course, Friday night footy, a couple of days away, we know, but 300 matches for Jack Revolt, the Tigers hosting the Lions as part of a huge weekend where, again, tipping is going to be really tough.
Yeah, Jack Revolt, fantastic player. Mr. Brightside, seeing that after the 2017 Grand Final, one of the highlights of premierships in recent years, really. 700 goals last week. Fantastic player for the Richmond Footy Club, fantastic player for the AFL. We wish him well, and hopefully the Tigers can get out of their slump, a bit like West Coast, and win for a milestone match.
Absolutely. COD, top of the table when it comes to the footy tipping at the West. We'll keep an eye on him. I'm Skeet. It's been a pleasure to have your company on thewest.com.au. Of course, we'd like you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for all your information, be it news or sport, head to thewest.com.au. This has been Through the Banner. We'll see you next week.